Elephant. Ceffyl.
Ceffyl.
Elephant.
Elephant.
Ceffyl.
Ceffyl.
Arth.
Arth. So the name Arthur comes from this Welsh noun for bear.
Elephant.
Elephant.
Llygoden.
Llygoden.
Ceffyl.
Ceffyl is from... Okay, we're doing Welsh today. To build the language. Ceffyl is from Latin. So it's not directly descended from it, but taken from. So let me use this kind of an arrow. Borrowed from Latin. Caballos. Caballos. French cheval is a descendant of that. Latin and Spanish. What's caballo? Caballo? Ceffyl, taken into early Welsh or Celtic as a loanword, and that's the Welsh outcome of it. Welsh, language of Wales, one of the kingdoms in Great Britain.
Dych chi'n hoffi'r ceffyl?
Dych
chi'n hoffi'r ceffyl?
And it's part of the Celtic family of languages within Indo-European. Is the superfamily, to which English also belongs. Excuse me.
Dych chi'n hoffi'r ceffyl?
Dych chi'n hoffi is do you like? Dych chi'n is a contraction. Hoffi. Then we had another contraction with the article. The.
Dych chi'n hoffi'r ceffyl?
Do you like the horse? So W and Y seem to be only vowel letters, not consonants. So 7 basic vowel letters in the Welsh alphabet. Do you like the horse? Okay. A bird.
Arth.
Arth.
Ceffyl.
Ceffyl. The double F there is important. Shows it's voiceless. A single F letter will sound like a V. And bird.
Aderyn.
Aderyn. Aderyn.
Llygoden.
Llygoden.
Elephant. Aderyn.
Aderyn.
Elephant.
Elephant.
Saith. Aderyn.
Saith. Aderyn. 7 birds. Scythe is probably not taken from Latin, but related to our word 7. Scythe means 7. Oh, let me include the meaning here for this. Ceffyl, horse. And so here I'm trying to show it's a borrowed form, meaning taken at a certain stage from one speech community into another as a new word. In this case, into the ancestor of Welsh at whatever stage it was. This one, however, is cognate with. It's related to, it corresponds exactly to our word 7, Latin septem, and all the Romance descendants of that, German sieben, and so on. A whole bunch of words for 7. In Welsh, it's this scythe. So we might say the P there, original form, Indo-European, I think would have been sepunt in Germanic for septum. So in Germanic, a couple letters got turned around, we'll call it metathesis. And the in a word like this is a syllabic sound. Septum is 2 syllables. Never mind. Septum, scythe. So it's say the P of the original word has now been replaced. Maybe it's become this vowel sound in a diphthong I. And the T has become a fricative spirant sound, th.
Dych chi eisiau cwningen?
The rest of that final syllable is just lost in Welsh. Dych chi eisiau cwningen. Looks like the Old English word for king.
Cwningen.
But it's a rabbit, king rabbit. Dych chi eisiau means do you want, not like. Are you, and the marking is different here. The structure is a bit different on the verb. Do you want instead of being that contraction,
Chi
decheen,
eisiau.
which we're seeing in every other verb, the N contracted. Here, it's just pronoun verb, I think. I'm not quite sure which of these. Well, it's got to be
Dich.
dich, the verb of being, and the chi is pronoun you. And so the ch
Chi.
of the pronoun seems to have rubbed off on the verb there, or maybe it's something else. Do you want Kuningen, a rabbit?
Elephant a llygoden.
Elephant, a llygoden. An elephant and a mouse. I want, so do, and then e, pronoun I, eisiau, Kuningen. I want do e eisiau. Sheep dafad, I think. So they're single F pronounced v, like a V. Dafad. Dwi eisiau dafad. I want a sheep. So, welcome back to Language Institute. I'm your verb ally. We're starting today off with some Welsh, language of Wales.
Llew.
No sound, alas.
Crwban.
For tortoise. Crwban. Alright, so talk about those stop sounds. The K sound spelled C here, aspirated, K, and the one written B is really just an unaspirated voiceless one. If you listen closely, I don't hear any voicing on these stops.
Crwban.
Crwban. It's really just a gentle P. It's not a B where we have vibration in the vocal folds. That's what we call voicing. Cow. Buch. Buich. Buch. Let's hear it.
Crwban.
Tortoise. Crank for the crab.
Buwch.
Buch. So that's the sequence there. The letter U sounding as an I, and the W is an U. Buch. That is going to be historically
Dwi ddim yn hoffi'r crwban.
the same word as our calf.
Dwi ddim yn hoffi'r crwban.
Dwi, I, do, I, yeah. Them is the mutated form for not. Un, hoffi.
Dwi ddim yn hoffi'r crwban.
Hoffir, contraction, the crwban. Which was what again? Crwban tortoise. That would be kriban, what I write. Ku is the W letter. Okay. Ślew.
Buwch.
Buch is cow. Crank. Crab.
Llew. Buwch. Llew. Pedwar granc.
Pedwar granc. Sounds mutated. Pedwar means 4 crabs. And note that the noun in these cases is not marked plural. It's really not needed logically. If you're specifying the amount,
Anifail.
it's really redundant to say 4 crabs with a marker there if you think about it. Anifail looks like a plural, meaning animals.
Anifail.
But it's singular. Okay, Anifail, this is also a Latin borrowing. And we can see the effects of mutation within words. Let's hear it again.
Anifail.
File. So it's not the I. Cool. I haven't. Oh, yeah. This is Welsh. How was your Welsh? Those consonants next to each other. All these consonants. Which ones do you mean there? Yes, it is Welsh. You guessed it. word for sheep is davad, and that's an interesting one. So F sounds like a V. To answer your first question, beginner level. Just what I've been able to glean from doing Duolingo. There's the recursive one. So I'm going to follow the chat over here. Davad. Okay, that davad word is from... it's related to our word to tame. The tamed one is, a cultivated animal. What do you call it? Specifically the sheep over time. Pretty good. Well, thank you. I do what I can. Languages are kind of my thing. That's why I'm here. Thought I would show people what it's possible to learn, kind of. Okay, anifail.
Anifail.
This is that same type of borrowing. It was taken into an earlier form of the Welsh language, and the way into that speech community. Maybe it was just Celtic at the time, not what we would call Welsh per se, from Latin, maybe up to 2,000 years ago, of animale, what would have been the nominative accusative, singular. So, ani, the first part of that has stayed the same. Okay. I guess that, and what is it? What sentence it's connected with is not necessarily clear. Okay, but the M has become a V sound, so the difference there is that the V is a fricative, and M is a nasal stop where you've got complete closure. So you see that releasing of sealage of the mouth is a theme in Celtic languages, and this le, the e, I think would give the L kind of a bright quality over time, and it's kind of jumped over the L or colored the L and now become a diphthong, anivail. That's my guess here about the quality here. Normally an al would just stay an a, you'd expect. So, anivail is unanimal or just animal. Animal is an interesting word. You break it down within Latin. It means something like the one having a soul, the ensouled one. Anima is like the word for breath. It's the source of that. Anima. Breath or soul. And an animal is something that has that.
Dafad ac arth.
Here it is again, that sheep word.
Dafad ac arth.
Arth, the bear. Arth is related to bear, the animal, not the verb. Related to. So it's a cousin word of ursus, Latin. That's where we get ursa major. Ursus would be the male form, or you could have an a instead. Ursus, ursa. And that's Latin. And in Greek, it was the arctos for the bear word, which is where we get Arctic. Davad ak. So it's a sheep, sheepo, and a bear.
Diolch chi'n gwylio'r prif. Prif.
Prif insect. Y is a vowel, and F is a voiced consonant. The insect. Close is this to a Romance language? Very good question. Not too far. About as close as you can be without being a Romance language, I think. I would say. Maybe not. So, what's the structure of the family? So the biggest grouping is Indo-European, or IE. And within that, you've got several smaller branches, but the ones we call Italic, these subfamilies, and Celtic are believed by some knowledgeable people to have been a close subgrouping called Italo-Celtic. And then from that single source, just a little bit longer period of common development as one speech community. The Celts at one point were covering all of Europe, from Spain over to what's now Turkey, and up north, eventually up into the British Isles. Italo-Celtic. So the Italic branch had the Roman local speech, which we call Latin, as the main, what historically became the most important. There were other ones, other sister languages there, Faliscan, Oscan, Umbrian. These are ones we have some records for. Celtic, so I think we've got Celtic records from Spain, what's now Spain. I don't know much about them, but at an early stage it was being written down. But the modern ones that have come down fall into two groups. We've got Brythonic is the name of the group. That's the same name as Britain, and that's the one that Welsh belongs to, and also Breton in France. Now, small endangered one. And then the other sister of Brythonic there, under Celtic, that has descendants spoken today is Goidelic or Gaelic. And that embraces Irish and Scottish Gaelic. So, other Indo-European branches are cousins of this node. Alright, let's get back to the language itself. Gwylio'r prif. This R is an article. It really goes with this to form a phrase. Prif, again, what?
Prif.
Insect. Gwylio. I'm looking at.
Gwylio.
Watching. Gwylio. And this is the verb pronoun, are you watching? Are you in the watching of, I think, if we take it literally. Are you watching an insect? The insect, right. R is this word ur, spelled Y-R.
Wyth. Hwyaden.
Wyth is the number 8. Hwyaden.
Hwyaden.
Hwyaden ducks. 8 ducks.
Dwi ddim yn hoffi'r crwban.
Dwi ddim yn hoffi'r crwban. My pleasure. It's what I'm here for. Share what I know.
Dych chi'n gwylio'r prif?
Dych chi'n gwylio'r prif? Are you watching the insect? Yeah. All right. Next, I'd like to do a bit of Catalan, spoken in Spain. Flummoxed by this. Okay, and this one is taught through Spanish. I might not translate every single bit, but I'll try. Into English, I mean. Animales. Yeah. El perro. ¿Cuál de estos es el perro?
El gat.
El gat. Nice dark L on that. Unlike Spanish.
Els Mossos.
Els gossos.
El gat. El gos.
El gos. Gos. Don't know any word like that for dog.
Els Mossos.
Los perros.
Els gats.
Els gats.
El gos.
El gos.
Els Mossos.
Els gossos.
Les gates.
Las gatas. That's the feminine one. Las. Feminine plural. Las gatas. The female cats. Understand? Likely? Some of the words I've seen diverge quite a bit, but I bet you could pick up pretty quickly on Catalan. Well, and then a lot of the vocab, I don't know about a lot. We've seen a few dozen words here so far. Some of them hew closer to French. So the word for eating that we've learned is menjar, closer to the French verb, different root in Spanish, comer. So I'd say 60, 70 of the vocab, if I had to take a stab, you could recognize quite easily. El caballo, there's that word we saw in Welsh, keffel. Where is it? Keffel. Is this the cousin of this Latin Romance word, caballos? Caballo. El caballo is Spanish, changes very little. French, cheval. Es for español, caballo. Note that a Spanish B in this position is going to weaken to a V, so it's that theme of incomplete closure. Instead of a B that the spelling might suggest, it's a V, where there's a tiny opening left. Close cousins, Catalan and Spanish, so maybe 1,000 or 1,500 years ago, a single speech community? I don't know. So it would go back to the Latin of the late Roman Empire. So early centuries AD was when Latin came to be spoken. Well, I guess it may even have been established before the switch to AD, the Common Era. Latin was there because of the Roman Empire, and then the dialects that have come down to us, except for Basque, which is its own thing, are all just descendants that have been hanging out there for those centuries and developing, each kind of going their own way and sometimes borrowing from each other. So in Catalan now, we're seeing the spelling with a V and the double L preserved directly, although with a different value. So the double L in Latin was a long consonant of like 2 beats, so held longer than a single L, whereas Catalan double L spelling, I think, is a palatalized, a yeah.
El cavall.
Not necessarily 2 segments. Basque, an isolate. Yes, it is. Not known to be related to any other language on Earth, and there's, I think, a few hundred of them on Earth that are isolates. They tend to be on like islands or isolated places. The Basque is preserved up in the Pyrenees in the high mountains because that's not territory that's easily taken over. Another area that's like that with a few isolates, I think, is the Caucasus Mountains, and then in the Himalayas, there's others like Klingon. If you want to see some Klingon, it's really fun, and I haven't started it yet. I shall do Klingon next. It is decided. Unless you object. If you say, no, don't do Klingon. But Klingon's got some unique things going on. It's a lot of fun.
El gat. El gos. El cavall.
I shall do it. I shall strive to.
Els Mossos. El gat. Els gats.
So let's compare these forms real quick. So that was about Welsh originally. Let's just carry on seamlessly into Catalan. Els gats. So the question is, how is it related to Spanish? Let's look at it on a really detailed level. In this example, how does this phrase here now, meaning the cats, plural, masculine, how is it connected to Spanish los gatos? Well, we've got to know that these both come from an accusative form of Latin. So the object case, like the German den, das, die, that case. Latin had one called accusative. The plural forms ended with vowel s. And this los and els, it descends from the pointing word, the diacritic illos. It's a long O sound there. Catus, I think, was Latin for. So that kind of develops in a weird way. Normally a ka would stay a ka, but this has done its own thing. But anyway, it's about the endings here, rather, and especially this article word here. So in this one, Catalan has just chopped off the first syllable. This is the plural one here. Gatos, PL plural. Els, oh, that's Spanish in any case. That's what we want to show. Español. And here, this one is Catalan as labeled. And it also comes from illos gatos. Gatos. Here in Catalan, we lose this vowel, but the consonant stayed. This one lowers, we say. So instead of E, it's a more open jaw position, E. And this we call syncope when a vowel in the middle of a word is dropped. Syncopation. And the same has happened to the noun. It loses its vowel, but the consonants it preserves pretty well. So this same phrase here, y los gatos, gatos from Latin.
Un gat.
Gat. This would be unum from Latin. Just losing that whole final syllable. Final rhyme. Hope so. Yeah. Un gat. Un gato. Spanish preserves that vowel in those weak end syllables, except for with this one, it's dropped it. It's not. We do have the word uno to mean the numeral one, but meaning just un gato. In Latin, they would have both ended in unum catum, un gato. El burro, the donkey. So here's going to be also el, masculine singular, ruk, completely unconnected word it seems. But this, so let's look at that too. El in either language was in Latin illum. So that's the masculine singular form. And also accusative. So again, you see this lowering from an E, a high vowel, to the mid position, eh. El gato bebe agua, la gata, female cat, bebe leche. All right. El gat. Beu is the form corresponding, comes from the very same Latin verb form, beu, bebe, and then it's agua for water. Don't know why. La gata, is this going to be le? La, okay, just the same spelling there, la gata, beu, and this one is liet. Okay, no, would not have guessed that correctly. Remember the L, the double L letter brightens it to a liet. Liet. We don't have case marking in Catalan or in Spanish. Just the gender is marked, and the singular plural we call number. Klingon time. Wish me kapla. With that, actually, we may have been. I think the only one I haven't started yet from that's taught through English is Klingon. So this will make it complete, I believe. Which is pretty cool. We're on day 51. There we go. Oh, the beta. Beta! I should have. Let me just back up. Oh, they're hatched. 99% done. Ooh. That's great. I look forward to Yiddish. It's fabulous. Everything else we have started. Cool. There's still Guarani, which is only taught through Spanish, that I haven't looked at all with this account. Let's do that. Yeah, it has High Valyrian. I just started that one yesterday. I'm happy to revisit it as soon as we've done some Klingon. Let me do the placement test. Well, yeah, Yiddish, putting all modesty aside, if you know German, you understand most of it. You should understand the basic structure. There's some vocab differences, but it's a dialect of medieval German, especially close to the southern form that I'm more familiar with, yeah, with some vowel changes. And I have been doing a bit of Hebrew on this one, as you saw. So I got some familiarity with the alphabet. They did interesting things to it to write Yiddish. They turned certain consonant letters that weren't really needed into vowel signs. I didn't know that was even anywhere close to being done. That's great. All right, so I run and I jump. Klingon has these person marking prefixes. The one for I is j. We've got these candidates. I think run was the
Jet.
and jishuk.
Jeshu.
Jiket. Oh, I needed a word for and.
Oot. Oot.
So the apostrophe is a glottal stop, as in uh-oh. The Klingon works. Sounds like a song. Sounds like a hit song. Boy, you know what? I'm not up to this at all. I need to review. Yes, I will quit. I'm going to start from scratch.
Oot.
So, nice short vowel, closed syllable.
Oot.
Treat it like a real language. There are no native speakers, of course.
Oot.
Oh, okay, this is cool. It's like it means the vowel U. Just the meaning of this lexical item, ut. So it's like we're imbibing the Klingon grammatical tradition.
It.
Do the vowel it.
Art.
Vowel ah.
At, et, at, oat, at, at, at.
The Klingon vowels. All right. A T. Oh, let's get it right. Ot. At. It. Officially, it's a capital I. I'm not going to bother with that, but the apostrophe needs to be there. Ut. Et. In fact, this is quite like how vowels are cited, vowel phonemes are cited in the Sanskrit traditions. They put a little T after it, the grammatical tradition, and it means the vowel such and such. So a nice overlap there of Klingon and Sanskrit. And once more, at, et, it, ot, ut. Suspiciously like a human language. Let's do a bit more to get kind of a taste of Klingon rather than just names of vowels. Some useful phrases.
Nukjat.
Okay, Q, the uvular, K. And TLH, that's a single laterally released T that's aspirated, I think. Single consonant. Here there's a sequence. K is ending the first syllable and J is beginning the following.
Nukjat.
It's a compound word, meaning what did you say?
Mara.
That's a name. Oh. Here. I should open the door. Be right back. It is an adjective and it means healthy. Cool. Sound and well. This word sound is nice. We have another word sound referring to audio information transmitted. Mara.
Nuknech.
Some resemblance,
I
but
think
there's
it's
no
the
real
one
connection.
for what? Oh,
Always
is
a
he still
possibility.
talking?
The Finnish word
Nuknech.
Nuknech.
So capital H is a rough ch sound, made pretty far back. And what's it?
Nuknech.
What do you want? So how do you pronounce the Q? The Q is basically the same sound that Arabic has, where if you start from a K sound, ka is in a ka or a ku syllable, and you just focus on where you're making contact within your mouth, high up in the throat for our K, and just make the point of contact lower down, ka. That's using the uvula, the hang-downy thing.
Yajbet torg.
Bet. Bet, I think, was the negative. You
Yajbet.
does not understand. So it's the root of understanding. And I think a convenient way to start thinking about these is that there's a zero prefix there on this verb.
Yajbe.
It's a position where there would be one, but for this position in the paradigm, there's nothing. And then torg is a name. So torg, and
Yajbe.
the order is verb here, verb subject. Torg does not understand. What else did we do? We did Welsh. Was there anything else in between? Yeah, Catalan. I didn't mark it here. Okay. Yajbet.
Torg. Yajbe. Mara.
Yajbet. It could be subject, object, verb. Does not understand. But I think Tord is vocative speaking to you. No, it is transitive. So, subject coming last, and Tord the object first. Object, verb, subject. And that was deliberately chosen because it's very rare in human languages, that word order. Tord the object. So we can think of that first bit as a chunk, verb and its object, and then the subject follows. Mara, what do you want? It was nuk, net, nuk, ne, nech with the H. I'm going to put it in the same spot. Mara, nuk, nech. What did you say? Nuk, jak. I do not understand. Okay, so this is going to be yajbe, yaj understanding. Y-H-A-B-E glottal. And the I meanings, I subject is marked with J, J-I. Nuk jak. Jiajbe. When you say how do those affect the written language, I should have looked sooner, but what are you referring to there? Was it about Klingon or the Norwegian? Don't sorry. Name of my religion here. Don't sorry. Spellings of the Klingon vowels. How do those affect it? Talking about Klingon vowels? Those T's, you mean? I want to answer your question, but I must understand first.
Nuk.
Nuk is the part that means what?
Klingon pu yaj mara.
Yaj. So, an unprefix
Yaj.
means it has a third person subject. He, she understands. Klingon pu at it. Okay, so what I'm getting from it is that the T is just there to sort of give it a certain syllable shape, if you will. It's a quotative T. The real information contained in those syllables, at, it, ut, and so on, is vowel of this quality. We'll have to do more in that unit, I think, in order to proceed. So let's go ahead and do this. Yeah, Klingon pu is Klingon,
Klingon pu.
and then a pluralizer, pu, suffix,
Klingon pu yaj mara.
subject last. Mara understands the Klingons.
Pong ochbej.
Ochbej. Pong is the word for name.
Pong.
Ochbej.
Ochbej.
It is definitely a name. What's the word order here? This is the verby part of the sentence. Oh. The bej is like an emphatic suffix, or like an affirmative, or maybe it's some sort of particle. Pong. the thing that it is, so it's the complement of the copula. Will precede its verb. That's worth noting.
Klingan hol vijat.
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 So vi is different from j, because that reflects whether the verb is transitive or not. Klingon hol is the Klingon language. I speak it. This is a transitive verb. X speaks Y, right? It involves two participants, and the single prefix vi
Vijat.
marking a particular combination of those properties. Klingon pu is Klingon for plural Klingon people, I think. So it's like dul in Korean, if you will. The pu suffix. That's the equation. As far as meaning. So I'll put it the full spelling here. Klingon. The suffix pu. Then again the apostrophes for the uh-oh sound marks plural. I would say human, but of course it's Klingon. That's not a helpful grammatical label. It means it's just a plural noun marker. Plural. Person, yeah. Personal plural. Plural person or something. Since I wouldn't say human. So, compound.
Klingon.
I speak it. I speak. Pardon me, stewardess. I speak Klingon.
Divit hol. Klingan hol j.
J is the other way to say and. Instead of edge in between, you can put J at the end. And it's just two noun phrases. Divit means the Federation, and Divit hol, Federation language is English, or they're calling it here, I think, Federation Standard. And we've got to put in the middle there, Klingon language. Or English and Klingon would do, okay. It is definitely a name. The Pong name part comes first, the thing that it is. Oh, written with that glottal stop, and then bedge. Success and honor. I think honor is kapla, but that's what it is. Six ka. Kapla. Oh my goodness. Sloppy typing. Can't quite tell what that's conveying. Maybe if I zoom in. What emoji? Qu'est-ce que c'est? God, it screwed it right up. Scratchy chin. Oh, as far as the stem, yeah, that does call for explanation. Why that? I think Akrund was the name of the guy who designed the language. I think he wants each syllable to have only a simple onset, a single consonant sound. So the language had been named before anything about the language, the culture, the planet, the people, the non-people. They had already been named in the old 60s Star Trek series. And but in the 80s, I think it was, early 80s, they hired a linguist to actually flesh out and construct the language. But he had certain features in mind for it that he stuck with, and one of the principles was just a single onset, just like Korean actually. Korean, Chinese, and Japanese all share this constraint. And so instead of a cluster, he wants to have a tla, which is a single sound. It strikes the ear in a similar way. Klingon. That make sense? So it's a very good imitation of how these things often play out in real life. When the name of a people or any other thing is transferred from one language to another, you get these sort of substitutions because not all structures map onto each other easily. So we've already got Klingon written there. The Klingon for Klingon is kli, that's a capital I. That would be syllable 1. And then ngan would be syllable 2, I think. And then hol for the language and pu for a plural there. It's a separate piece. So T is like KL. It's not the T. This THL is all one sound, and I think it's laterally released. So the tongue position for a T sound, t, is the same as for an L basically. So if you just go do a direct transition, we don't do it in English at the beginning of a syllable, but we have it in Seattle, that sequence of sounds. Just from T straight into L, would make it a breathy one. Fla. There are languages on Earth that have a sound like this. Klingon. Kli, kli. So you're just bringing the wings of your tongue down to go from a T to an L. T involves complete sealage. So success was pop-la, which you hear in all the movies and the show. Edge for and. Honor is but. And here that consonant is again. It's 3 letters. HL, but a single sound. Oy vey. Corrected my Klingon here. It wants the J, the phrase final thing. Okay. La. Bat. J. Viewers just went Klingon. J. So we're taking nerdiness to, I think, new heights today. I'm giving these. I'm speaking for myself. Holding forth on the history of the Klingon language here. It's another level. Okay, we gotta. Since there was a little question about the sounds, let's look at that again. As long as we're here.
Jai.
This is something new.
Jai.
The consonant J. So just like we say J, got names for their letters and their sounds.
Y. Yai. Chai.
Ch. It's 2 letters but a single sound. The Klingon consonant ch.
Y. Yai.
Dang it.
Bay.
Bay. Okay.
Bell.
Yeah. Bell. Clearly not it.
Bedge.
J as in judge. That sound.
Bay.
That's what we want. This would be bet, where it's chopped short. That vowel.
Jai. Jai. Y. Y.
So what makes a consonant letter name in in Klingon, the wrong K language? We put the consonant sound itself at the front and add I. And the way you name a vowel is you put a glottal stop, then that vowel sound, then a T. Just like in Korean, though, for parallel comparison here, it's a consistent pattern for naming letters too. T-gut is kind of a weird one, but you always have the same consonant at the beginning and end of each one. Kiyok. I can't always remember which vowel it is in each case, but Kiyok is the name of the letter. All right. Let's just go ahead and knock it out, shall we? The infinitive of letters, indeed. Yeah. Or a good term, that kind of a thing, citation form. The name by which it is known to a grammarian.
Rai.
So is it the R consonant?
Die.
This capital D is a retroflex where the tongue tip da is curled. You know, it's a made-up language, so of course there's no real standard we can appeal to. But these sounds, some of them are shared with English, and some of them are consciously borrowed from other known, well-described languages. Indian languages have this sound very frequently, or da sound.
Shy. Chai.
This capital S is the sh retroflex that matches that D. The tongue takes the same shape. So this means a sh consonant and a ch consonant.
Kai. Oat. Kai.
3-letter sequence. Ot naming the vowel O and Q. Q-O-Q.
Kai.
All right, we've got the 2 Qs.
Kai.
Pi.
Kai.
The scratchy one is written with a capital Q. So the target one here,
Kai.
plain Q.
Kai.
Rai.
So GH, 2 letters, but of course a single consonant sound, gh, that you might have in Arabic and Persian, that part of the world.
Chai.
Chai, like in Arabic.
Chai.
I don't know any language that has this, but perhaps it exists somewhere. It's I think qa, a uvular stop with a slow release. So you have this long affricate. That's what you call that, where you slowly open from a stop position. So tsa is like that. Pfa of German is an affricate. The capital Q, yeah, so the capital letters signify a couple of different things. There's no lowercase h, but the capital H is a scratchy ch, a pharyngeal one, made lower than, well, in this case, no. The plain H is a glottal at the very lowest possible position. It's a glottal fricative. Is this one. So that's higher up. Pharyngeal, I think it is. There is a contrast between q, which we can just play here.
Chai.
That's a plain lowercase q.
Chai.
With a slow release is the capital Q. An affricate is the term for a consonant like that. So German Z, Z is an affricate, and Pf, spelled PF. Ch is that same principle, just in a different position in the mouth. And the Esh, D, the capital tells us it's retroflex. S, same thing. Curled tongue is what that means. So a few different meanings for the capital letters. Zeit, exactly. German now, a language that has a couple affricates. What we write, the spelling has as a Z is not Z like we have in English, but S. And the spelling also has F. And that's just a slowly released P, is what that is. This is a Z, Z, often also spelled with a T preceding, is a slowly released T sound. Instead of going from closed to open to ta, if we slow that down, we get sa, sa. And if we do the same thing with the lips, instead of a smooth pa with quick release, it would be pfa, where there's a period of a fricative in the production of that. Whoops.
Shy. Shy.
Here we have that TLH.
Fly.
Starting sealed with at a T position, and then lowering the thing. Pferd, right. Pferd, it's written with 2 letters, but it's really a single sound, a single consonant. And Fernseher, that's also a single one, but not a complex onset. I mean, not a complex, the delayed release one. That's just a fricative. So for German, what's relevant in consonants, if we're going to do a Hangul-like chart for German, you'd have your plain initial at the lips, T at the teeth, Z also at the teeth, but at Z, slow release. Actually, let's put that in its own row. So, F there, Z. You'd have one with voiced sounds, B, D, K, G. German also has this glottal stop as an important distinctive sound. So, and then you need Ch, the CH spelled one. So, in this grid, you've got consonants of the same production class, the manner of articulation, in rows, and from top to bottom, you've got them in the same place in the mouth. What's causing the frustration emoji, if that's what that is? I'm seeing these emojis for the first time, so too muddled in my presentation here. Yeah, so the point, the way we got here was these kinds of sounds, tsa and fa, are affricates, which means slowly released stops. Just trying to figure out how to imitate the sounds. Right, so gotcha. For that, you have to listen carefully to it. So let me just play it more.
Shy. 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 Shy.
So what I'm hearing is a retroflex sh. If we start from a s, a plain s that we have in say or sigh, pull the tongue tip back sh until it's doing this kind of a shape. S, where the tongue is just pointing forward, s or sh. Curl it back. You'll end up with this.
Shy.
Okay.
Fly.
Fly. Okay, it's not going to...
Fly. Fly.
Good and scratchy there. Starting from a T and just lowering the sides of the tongue.
Jai.
Nothing fancy about that.
Chai.
The voiceless and voiced pair.
Shy. Shrewd. Shrewd. Shrewd.
So both the S there and that flavor of S, the sh, good. I understand a little more. Yeah. We have TH, TH spelling represents really th and the. That's a pair of sounds. So one combination of letters, but two sound values for it, which is not uncommon.
Shrewd.
Nice thing about this syllable is the consonant at the beginning and the one at the end. They're both these curl tongue ones. Shrewd. So your tongue can just stay in that shape. Missing audio here, I think, but
Shrewd.
that one's there. Let's let them know.
Pie.
Okay.
Pie.
That plain Q,
Pie.
scratchy Q, slow release.
Chai.
This is a voiced fricative, gargly sound.
Chai.
This is a voiceless fricative made in the throat. Arabic has this. Gotta select the correct one though.
Pie. Pie.
And that's just lower contact than for our k or k sound. It's up high with really the back of the roof of the mouth. Pa is the uvular. Q. Let's do something a little bit more real. Should we do some German? I rarely do it here. Or would you be more interested in... Snakehead indeed, good sir. As you say. Let me just boldly propose we do some Dutch, because you'll recognize a lot of common vocabulary with German as well as English. And it's sort of a notch below the German level of grammatical complexity. And here, it's really not that Dutch and German are two distinct languages. As you go from the Netherlands inland into Europe, it's a dialect continuum. It's a chain of mutually intelligible neighboring dialects from place to place, and the differences just multiply the further you go. It's a nice concept, and it's like it is with species too, of animals and plants and fungi. Instead of a species chain or species continuum, we have dialect continuums. Continua. Gradual changes the longer you go in a given direction. So Dutch clothing we're doing. And let's add it to our list for today. Duits. Hollands. Nederlands would be the name of the language. Which one of these is the pants?
De schoen.
The schoen. So SCH. Spelling is just like German, but it's a sequence.
De schoen.
Two fricatives together, which is pretty cool.
De jas.
De jas.
De broek.
Broek. I think that would be related to our word breeches. The dress.
De schoen.
Schoen.
De jas.
De jas.
De schoen. De jurk.
The yurk. So one thing I'm still trying to get a handle on. Lost the chat. Voila. Jawohl. Is how the different what the different values are of the R consonant. yerk here with the retroflex one.
Broeken en boeken.
But in this one,
Broeken en boeken. Broeken.
broeken, it's a usually r. Broeken,
Broeken.
pants and books. And these are both plural nouns with the en suffix, which German also has. English, I guess, kind of has an en plural. If you look at something that might come readily to mind, oxen. Singular, just ox, and here en is added. We've also got children, and that's interesting because it's a pileup of two, historically, is two distinct plural markers. So with the modern dialect form chillens, if you ever hear somebody say children's, that's a triple plural suffix. The schoen.
De schoen.
From a German standpoint, it looks like a plural one, but this is singular.
De jurk.
Yerk. Listen to that R. Okay, you can't.
De jurk.
And here,
De jas.
probably same source as jacke, but ending differently.
De schoen. De broek.
De broek.
De schoen.
Schoen. Okay, OE is an U sound, single vowel sound.
De jas. Hij draagt geen jas.
Hij draagt geen jas. Are there three genders? There are genders. I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3, actually. Haven't worked that out yet. STF, WTF. What else would be fun besides Dutch? Let's do some Norwegian too.
Hij draagt geen jas.
De is masculine. That is correct. Hij is
Hij.
he pronoun. So here closer to English. The German one, er, doesn't have that H anymore. If it ever did, I don't know. Probably a different word. He draagt. So a good rule of thumb to find the German cognate is D voice, a stop. German has tragen. So he carries, literally, but we know jas is a jacket, a coat.
Geen.
Geen is kein, keine Jacke. Trägt keine Jacke is not how I'd say it. It means to be carrying on your body, to be wearing. He does not wear a jacket. So it sounds a bit odder in English to say he wears no jacket, but that would be closer to this.
Draagt hij.
And also the German structure.
De jurken zijn goed.
Jurke. De jurken zijn goed. Okay, just as in German, a word final
Goed.
D consonant is going to devoice to a T.
De jurken zijn goed.
Plural mark.
Jurken.
Plural suffix. Zijn looks like the infinitive, but it's third plural. They are. The dresses are good. So in the consonants, at least as far as the letters, just like English,
Goed.
but a Dutch G is always this fricative g.
Goed.
I am wearing. Jongen, so the word for boy in Dutch is jongen, also with an N. Jongen. J-O-N-G. I'm wearing, ik draag, een schoen. Why just one? Perhaps better not to ask. So if we sort of want to trigonometry the history of these languages, German, Dutch, and English, they're closely related ones. What's going on with this shoe word? In English and German we have the sh consonant, single sound, and in Dutch this cluster. Well, the best theory on that is that it used to be a sk in all of these words, and that shifted to these outcomes. Sch in Dutch and simplifying to a single cluster in English. Ik draag, with a 0 ending here for first person, de yurt. Yurk, rather, not my yurt. Schuhe is plural. So these nouns have been reformed a little bit. A single schoen, that's singular shoe in Dutch, looks plural to us. German has der Schuh, die Schuhe. That's the nominative, and then the N shows up in other cases. pretty sure. So we could say these words are cognate, but they don't correspond in all their details. Let's do Norwegian. We'll also hear retroflexes here most likely. They get very talkative during this sometimes. Gone quite a ways, I'm happy to see.
Fly.
Flyr.
Varm.
Varm.
Stor.
Stor, big.
Varm.
Varm. Oops.
Et vindu.
Vindu.
Et vindu.
Where Mace Windu fell out of was the Vindu.
Stor.
Varm.
Varm.
Hovedretten er varm.
Hovedretten. Hovedretten. I remember hoved is the head.
Hovedretten
The main course. Er
varm.
the verb in all persons and numbers. Varm. The main course is hot. And this thing that looks like a plural. Cats do it. This suffix makes it definite. The main course. That's true in all the Scandinavian Germanic languages, the North Germanic. Main course. Varm is hot.
Vil du ha noe godt?
Vil du ha? Want
Vil
you
du
to have noe godt.
godt? Noe.
Noe looks like nothing, but it means something. Do you want to have something good? Do you, or we can just drop the have. Do you want something good?
Vil du ha noe godt?
Vil du ha noe godt?
Vil du ha noe godt? Bordene er ikke nye.
Bordene er ikke nye.
Bordene er ikke nye. Bordene.
Plural definite, and then board is the word for table. And the D will cease to be articulated here.
Bordene er ikke nye.
No trace of a D left, just bordene er ikke nye. Ikke is not. The tables are not new. Nye.
Vil du ha noe godt?
Do you want something good? Vil du ha noe godt?
Du har en stor hund.
Hund. Here too, D is gone. So in these clusters, D likes to drop.
Du har en stor hund.
Stor hund. Du har en stor.
Du har en stor hund.
Stor hund. You have a big dog.
Søsteren min har et fint skjerf.
Fint skjerf.
Søsteren min har et fint skjerf.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll be calling her tonight soon. As well. It's probably a 20, 30-year-old greeting now.
Søsteren min har et fint skjerf.
The sister of mine has a fine scarf. Nice.
De bor I et fint hus.
De bor I et fint hus.
Jakken min kort.
Retroflexion.
Jakken min kort.
Jakken min kort.
Jakken min kort.
The jacket of mine is short.
Hvorfor ligger det skitne sokker I sengen min?
Hvorfor ligger de skitne?
Hvorfor ligger det skitne sokker I sengen min? Skitne.
Okay, I sengen min is a phrase. In bed of mine. You could
There.
There. Okay, why are there lying there? Dirty socks. Why are there... You don't really have to translate the line. Why are there dirty socks in my bed?
Han leser en kort bok.
He reads a short book. Han leser. I think it's just E-S-E-R. En kort bok.
Han leser en kort bok.
Okay, en kort bok. I am writing a short letter to my sister. Jeg skriver et kort brev til søstera min. Søsteren min. Jeg skriver et kort brev til søsteren min. There.
Du har en stor familie.
Big family. Du har en stor familie. When is the new tree coming? Når kommer det nye treet? Neuter now. Når. When. That's interesting.
Søsteren min har et fint skjerf.
Søsteren min.
Søsteren min har et fint skjerf.
Søsteren min har et fint skjerf. Glasses are dirty. Glassene er skitne. Glassene er skitne. Okay, so there's some harmony there. The E-N-E suffix and the N-E here. Agree. Our house needs new windows. Vår hus behøver nye vinduer. Trenger huset vårt. Okay, the other word order. The house of ours. Trenger nye vinduer. Maten er varmt. Maten. Okay, this tells me it's common gender, not neuter. So just varm with a zero suffix. Big
Stor.
Søsteren min har et fint skjerf.
My sister has a nice scarf.
Han leser en kort bok.
Han leser en kort bok. Oops, no, let's call it. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.